Hey everyone, it is the 30th of May and this is the Global Intelligence Agency Operations Report. If you've seen one of these before, well, you're about to get something you don't get anywhere else, that's for sure. So today we have some interesting information. There's been a lot of stuff going on this week. You know, we had some incidental things like, oh, Trump's tariffs were blocked and now they're unblocked and who cares, right? There's a lot of controversy going on right now. Today is one of those days where, well, let's just say everybody thought and countries thought that they were going to get a big payout no later than today, and that didn't happen. About 48 hours ago or so, we flipped sides again. So the Trump people were in charge for a short period of time of getting it done, as they say. And then they moved over from the Trump people back to the Order of the Dragon. And here we are. As for me this week, well, and it relates to these people, I've kind of been the ping pong ball in the tournament. You know, I feel like I got Forrest Gump on one side and some random guy on the other side, and I'm the ping pong ball in the middle. Everybody wants something from me, but nobody wants to actually work together with us. And nobody actually wants to do anything we want to do, which is restoration of this planet, the launching of CARE, and a number of other things. Interesting little tidbit of information. We were approached by a group that is working for Chuck Schumer this week. Chuck. If for those of you that have been around for a while, you remember Chucky Schumer. Chucky Schumer is the guy when we had deposited $23 trillion at the Treasury Department, and in an effort to try to get the U.S. government to work with us about a year or so ago. Chucky was the guy that claimed that he controlled it all, and he went around making all kinds of deals and writing checks that he just couldn't cash. So Chuck approaches us again this week with a new committee the United States government would like to form. It's all about technology disclosure and alien disclosure and deep underground military base disclosure and all kinds of things. That just sound amazing, doesn't it? I mean, who wouldn't want that kind of disclosure in mainstream media? And, well, you know, of course, they need our help. And they thought this is something that, you know, I could get behind. You know, I would be willing to fund such a committee. And, you know, of course, I don't get any participation in said committee, but, you know, they pick all these people and they're going to be the people that want to do the disclosure. Now, there are people that they mentioned that I know are also with the Trump organization and very staunch Trump supporters, mainly different groups of operatives, some of them out of Alabama. And those people are behind some of the people you see doing disclosure on some alternative media channels. Some of them do very lengthy movies and, you know, they appear on Gaia TV and other channels. And I found this very interesting. You know, so these were going to be your disclosure folks and your whistleblowers, allegedly. And then they were going to release all these new technologies. Now, for those of you that don't know about technologies that were given to humans, even through groups like the Majestic 12, you've probably heard that name tossed around. The Majestic 12 were a group of people that were permitted to and had communications with different non-human groups, and the non-human groups would give them technologies. Now, when they couldn't pay a lot of these retiring operatives and people that worked for the government and the world government, they would give them these technologies and tell them that they were free to go ahead and launch said technologies into the marketplace, and that would be their retirement pay because they would be able to make billions and trillions of dollars off these technologies. Well, true or not true? It looks like we might have froze a little bit, but we'll just keep going. True or not true? Well, about 1998, the non-humans that were exchanging this information, in part, figured out that these humans were a threat. They figured out that they were not doing anything to help free them from the captors that we all lived under for a long period of time. Therefore, the majority of technologies that were given to these folks in areas like 51, 52, all of the stories that you hear. There were many, many areas in the United States alone, let alone the entire world. So a lot of the technologies that they shared were incomplete. I know that for a fact. Contained metamaterials or made metals that they couldn't possibly source. That would have to be made utilizing certain technologies in order to make them happen. I'm going to call them technologies. So a lot of those technologies were, let's just say, very substandard and not complete anyway. And if anything, well, they had no hope of launching them. Did the people that passed down that information know that? Well, let's just say they do a lot at Los Alamos and other areas to try to reverse engineer this technology, see if they can get it to work and function. And when they can't get it to function, they gave it to all of you retirees. Unfortunately, that's what you have. Now, there are some technologies that are more mainstream, such as different building materials, different ways of building things like airstrips in a hurry. And these are some of the ones that I know of. Some that they would have passed down to the Army Corps of Engineers that they would have used, for example, secretly, in military projects or in war. And do those materials work? Well, yes and no. I'll tell you why. So say there's a certain mineral that you need to make this super strong airstrip in 15 minutes. Or say there is a particular silica sand, as an example, that you need. What they will do is they will turn around and buy up all of the mines or areas where these minerals can be found and make sure that you can't get any. So if you do manage to get your hands on these special minerals or special materials, then you are going to pay 10 times the amount, therefore making your product, well, out of the price range for most people. And no one's going to switch from substandard technology we have now to something that's going to cost them 10 times as much and not really earn them 10 times as much more money, to utilize in their factory or in their building. So that is kind of what they released to the public so far. Now, I know for a fact that these people have wanted me in the past, and this was face-to-face communication that went on for a few years. They wanted me in the past to work in a laboratory down the street from here, mainly because there's a lot of minerals there, and they wanted me to extract said minerals, and they wanted me to work on new innovative technologies for them. And I thought, oh, wow, that's interesting, and I didn't say much at the time. And, I went along with the program. Wow, this sounds like that's a whole lot of fun. They told me they saw me in Project Looking Glass and that I could work in this laboratory and we were going to create something momentous that was going to catapult humanity forward. By humanity, I assume they mean them. So we played this game for a little while. It didn't really work out, building of this lab didn't ever happen. And then they wanted me to use substandard technologies. For example, old, caustic, very volatile methods of extracting minerals. And I knew, number one, if I didn't die because we exploded, that we were probably going to die from some kind of chemical exposure. And I was like, no, absolutely not. No, I'm not playing your game. Nope. No, thank you. And that was actually the Mormons that offered us such a fine position through, of course, some operatives here that were brokering the deal at the time. Yeah, no. So I'm very familiar with technologies that are out there. I'm very familiar with people that have technologies that are just not going to work. Now, on the off chance someone that obtained said technology managed to, and there are some bright people out there, especially in groups like the cicadas, who all go to school in Japan. We talked about them before. The cicadas are a group of people that are taken into a school in Japan at a very young age, and they are trained in all sorts of things. I think there's even a movie about cicadas. And the cicadas are highly intelligent children. They are given oftentimes, let's just say, aids, medications, and other things that help them develop their brain more so than the average everyday human. And then this group of children end up going, as they grow up, when they become adults, they end up going to work in various industries in every single country in the world. And this was part of the way that the corporations or the big corporates controlled corporations, technological development, or not, cures, medical information around the world. This is kind of how it's done. In Russia, or the old USSR days, they also had a youth movement. We call it a youth movement, where they recruited children from all over the world as well, and they did much the same thing. So this is not a new thing. You didn't have to be part of the order. You just had to show that you were exemplary in some way, shape, or form, and could be used in the future as a sleeper spy, basically. They were taught, nuclear fusion and fission, in some cases, scientists, and in other cases, it was, uh, let's just say, everything from skincare products to shampoos and all kinds of things to make sure that no one, let's say, cut out the caustic chemicals and those things that they give to us and feed us. So we are aware fully, Mr. Schumer, and other people, et al., of exactly what you would like us to do. But in order for this program to be successful, assuming that is what you want it to be, then you need us more than we need you. We have a lot of humans, not only people watching this right now, and also myself, that have some experience in working with a lot of these technologies on the daily, actually, for myself. And we would be interested in trying to make them actually function. But I'm not going to do it for you people. No. And I'm not going to do it for the SSP people that put Chuck Schumer up to this. And I'm certainly not going to do it with some guy that I don't know being the whistleblower on TV that's going to say that he did it. Yeah, probably not so much so. So, do we want new technologies? Yes. Do we need the US government to help us with new technologies? Well, no. Do we need certain things that could be beneficial in waking up humanity from the US government? Well, that's about it. You see, Chucky and some of his friends over there have a face on TV, and there are a lot of people, millions of humans around the world have some kind of faith, trust in the information that governments put out. At least they used to. And that faith is kind of waning anyway. So, this is a short lived project, I should say. Do we want to go forward? Well, we could take a look at it, because if I can get the dancing people, the actors, the humans of the deep state, we know as government, to get on TV and say, this is disclosure, this is who CARE is, this is where our research and development centers are, this is what we are doing, and endorsing the project, maybe there's some benefit. But the clock is ticking because, well, let's just face it, your credibility is waning every day. If the Chinese manage to pull off what they are trying to pull off right now, and the Europeans manage to pull off what they are trying to pull off right now, you'll have zero credibility within, another week or two, maybe. But are they going to pull it off? I'm going to say no. I really am. And the reason why I'm going to say no is because they've already called us. So we've got this offer coming from the US, and we have offers coming in from China. We have offers coming in from Korea. We have offers coming in from France and from Italy. And this is all in the last couple of days since you and I last talked. Isn't that crazy? So we're kind of people who are sort of in a position to say what goes and what doesn't go at this point, even if they don't want to admit that we exist, which they would prefer they don't. There have been a lot of meetings even around here trying to figure out how they can get the crazy blonde lady to do what it is they want me to do. Well, not really very good at doing what people want me to do. I don't think I ever have, actually, my poor parents. But in this particular case, we are the card holder. Now, this week also, we have gone through a very difficult, it's been difficult for me for sure, transition. It is a positive transition. It's a place we haven't been at in a long time. And we're going to talk about that after I kind of explain a little bit more about the whole situation and what we're transitioning out of. So every time, it's not really every so many years or every 5,000 years or whatever it is. It's not really set up that way. It's more of every time we are 100% ready to transition to the now, meaning we're not in a matrix anymore. We're not having AIs create our reality anymore. We are getting away from anything that can create our future and our past and our present, or jump us into another AI created timeline. Every time we get to this point, so far in billions of years, we have not been successful. There were lots of mechanisms in place to try to not allow us to be successful in this transition. But we've also had a lot of breakthroughs in the last few days that have catapulted us through to where we need to be. Closer and closer, and you can clock with an egg timer from now as to when we will complete this transition. I'm just going to say it's very, very soon. The deep state, on the other hand, because they still listen to a bunch of people and non-people that gave them information a long time ago and told them that this is what is going to take place. And this is how you are going to do, what you are going to do to ensure that it takes place. If you don't hear from insert being that wants us all to die name here, including them, by the way. So they did their business this week and said, we are 24 hours from changing the entire world. We are 48 hours from changing the world. We have the universe in our hands. Blah, blah, blah. Same old, every week in, week out. And they figured this would be done by today. Well, I think they're figuring out, at least as of last night, that this didn't work out the way they thought it was going to work out. Doesn't stop them from, continuing to try, but it's not going to help give them any kind of power and control. So that's been kind of this week. We are getting lots of offers, lots of interesting information, people that are all of a sudden ready for restoration. And, these are people we have done business with in the past. And so far, not one of them, not China, not Korea, not the US, not anyone else, anywhere else, has actually done what they were supposed to do. No one. We've sent money to Iraq, we've sent money to, other countries in the past, South Africa, Brazil, you name it, we've tried them all, Russia. Oh, dear God, that was a decade ago. And they still haven't done what they were supposed to do. Why? Because everybody listens to a bunch of people that want you all dead. So keep waiting, because your next group is going to give you that offer. And I'm not sure when the next alignment with Uranus is, but I'm sure it'll be right quick. And I'm sure they're going to be here to help you. And they're going to be sending you out loads of money, as they say, very, very soon. However, apparently my first name is Loads, my last name is Money, and they would like me to do it for them. Well, they hide me, in the corner over here saying, we did it. But we already did this before, guys. Deep state people, hey. We've been doing this in the last Trump administration. We also did this in 2012. I did it again in 2018. And you know what? Not one of you actually adhered to your contract with our side. So I wish you all the best in your alignments and going around in a circle, and have a good time. As for your technologies and your disclosure, okay, but you're going to work for us and you're going to disclose what we tell you to disclose and you're going to do what we tell you to do. And those technologies are going to a care research and development center. And you can stand in front of there and look pretty and talk to the world on a US government podium or whatever it is you want to do. And that's fine. But we are the people that are going to get the job done. And by we, I'm not talking about me by myself. I'm also talking about people in this area. These facilities need to be built. They need security. They need, we need new hotels. We need lots of stuff around here to make that happen. We are the high altitude research and development center. Why here? Well, as far as the United States is concerned, we have one of the world's, I should say, not seven, 9 super sites in the world. 7, which the deep state knows about. One of them is down the street, and we have all the minerals down the street. Why the heck would we go anywhere else? So we will also be moving the Mormons out as well. Sorry. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. I don't expect any of this to go anywhere. I just am listening to a bunch of stories I've heard before by a bunch of people that won't perform. That's pretty much how it always works. So this time, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right, and it's going to be done on our terms. So getting back to the real news at hand, because this is the most important news for all of you. The transition. Tonight, we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into the Matrix. And by Matrix, you've probably seen the movie and you've seen all the ones and zeros falling down, and you probably wondered if that's the Matrix and what we're doing here. We've talked about probably hundreds of matrices over the last couple of years, but there is a master matrix. What does it do? And, well, how did we get here? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about where we're at with this transition at the moment. And then we're going to get to a question and answer on our app. So we do this on Zoom. I think they'll release the Zoom link on the app shortly before we get back on. We'll take a short break, and then I'm going to answer questions live there on the app. So I'm kind of excited about that. I love talking to everybody. I miss doing that. Every chance I get, I've been talking to our field messengers and joining some more meetings when I can, because I just love hearing from all of you. And, I think the deep state would be surprised if they knew how many people in our groups are doers. They do every day. Despite what you throw at them, they do every single day. They get up every day and they want to change the world. And they do in some small way. So, I think we're a force to be reckoned with over here. Not to mention the rest of our GIA folks that are with us. So on that note, I'm going to pull up the whiteboard and give you some of my terrible handwriting here for a minute. All right, here we go. All right, so let's talk about the types of matrices. Oh, we're going to do blue today. Okay. It just happens to be where they left it and they gave me the board. Okay. So if you were to look at the omniverse, and we were to look at this from where we kind of started, the omniverse sort of looks, if you were to look at it kind of from the side, I would say, you'd have what we call source here. You have dark source here. You have neutral source and a false cosmic sun. And you have a bunch of densities that kind of go around and around and around, and they kind of get larger here, till you get down here. So the one that goes around the false cosmic sun, there we go, would be called the zero density. And if you've ever seen the matrix, then you would know that there are zeros in the matrix, and you are correct. In the case of the universe, you have both positively charged and negatively charged zeros. Positively charged and negatively charged zeros do make up binary language. I know that if you are a programmer and you see ones and zeros, you don't see it that way, but it is the way that it is. Now, this zero density, here we're going to color that one, we'll color that one red, lies right here in the middle. And it's got a cosmic sun here. And then you have, we're going to change colors. Wow, this is fun. Okay, here we go. You have another loop that goes this way. This one here is the origin of your positively charged 1 and negatively charged 1. So it's positively charged 1 and negatively charged 1 because it originates at a point of creation in source and dark source. So that being said, in this case, the positive 1 and the negative 1 were run by a title of Lucerne and Lucifer. The zeros were run by a being we know as, I guess you would say, and in some cases, these are names you might know. And then you also had, some other folks that would chime in from here and there. Marduk also had a hand in running the positive and negative zeros. And together, what they did is they then mirrored these out. So the zeros would go, all the way up like this, and you would have them in between planes, densities, subsections and sections of planes. And basically the universe had a bunch of these reflected zero densities all the way throughout it. Okay. Conversely speaking, you had the ones going in the other direction to infamy. Now I'm starting to look like I'm 4. I'm sorry about that, guys. But I just wanted to give you kind of the magnitude. So the appearance, if you were to look at an AI system, you would see a bunch of ones and a bunch of zeros. Now, is that the actual language? Well, no. That's the AI portion of creation. Unfortunately, the omniverse is not the only thing that looked like this. The omniverse looks like this. Every planet looks like this. Every sun, every star. You as a human being look like this, and so did Earth. So because it sits in between all of existence, it is now overlaying all of existence, interlaying all of existence, outerlaying all of existence, and underlaying all of existence. So there's not a part of your person where you have your source particles, or had, I should say, your source particles all bouncing together like they're supposed to, communicating together like they're supposed to, be it on a cellular level or be it on a source particle level, a time particle level, all of these types of things. So this was actually created for you, and this is what you know as the matrix. So what does the deep state see? They will see within, for example, trees and plants and animals and humans, they're going to see this matrix. Does it only go up and down? Well, not really. But it is more linear because it is made with artificial intelligence. It's also made with something called synthetic intelligence or synthetic source intelligence and consciousness. So it's much bigger, as you can see, than chatbot GPT. They had different structures that would control your mind, your body, and your soul. But when you see the movie, The Matrix, the truth part behind it is that, yeah, everything that you see is kind of made up of ones and zeros. Could the AI enter in alien invasion? Yes. Could the AI enter into our reality disease, illness? Could it enter in more deep state people or people that look like people but aren't really those same people? We have presidents like that now, don't we? So they can enter a certain amount of information. They can also, by using these ones and zeros, change the frequency within your person to make you feel like this person on TV is telling you the truth. Now, this is all made up of false wisdom and false energy, false essence, false consciousness, which then make up your false elements of the matrix. So let's talk about false elements for a second. You know, if we think of elements, we think of air. We probably also think of earth. We think of fire. So we have, okay, water. You probably also know about a fifth element due to that movie. Whoops. You call the God particle in that movie. But there are more. So this gives us, we know about 5. So I'm going to add the other 4 here. So we have space. Space is an element in the artificial world. Time is an elephant. It is an elephant. What a pain in the butt time was, I got to tell you. Okay, so it's time. And then we also, that includes timelines, all artificial realities. Okay, so space, time, we have light. Of course, in the world of AI and SI systems, the light would be considered artificial or synthetic, both actually. And then we have matter. So when you talk about matrices and you talk about the infiltration and the control systems that a matrix would have within your person, you can think about your environment and where all of these things take place. So AI systems artificially create space that doesn't really exist. Or in terms of quantum physics, this would be called a large T, or it would be called distance. Time and timelines is an artificial current. Time, space, continuum openings are places where you can travel from, example, Earth to 9 dimensions away in less than 5 minutes. So time and space create time-space continuum openings. Not too long ago, the Pentagon said that they could control space and time. And I can tell you right now, if they could have, they would have, and they did not. And I mean over the last few days. I know why they said this, you see, because this goes back to our players in the game. And, you know, they just refuse to believe that anybody lies to them. You know, the only one they don't want to believe is me. But everybody else, maybe you know what? Instead of becoming the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus or something like that, I think I need an alien costume. So if anybody knows watching this, if I could get a really good alien costume, probably one like really tall, you know, because I'm not that tall. So I think I need to be a lot taller for them to believe me. You know, maybe something big like The Rock, you know, from Marvel comics or something. You know, I'd like to be that, because if I'm that, then I think they'll believe me, because they believe anything that doesn't look human. They don't care where you hail from. They don't care what your intention is, nor do they care what you've done up until now. They just automatically believe you. So I think I need an alien. So anybody wants to give me a reference of where I can get an excellent alien costume, you know, kind of really good one, like the masks that they put on our presidents of the United States. I would like to get one of those, if you can help me out with that. Okay, so space and time is how you actually travel. Therefore, if an AI system can control a part of space and time, it can make changes in an instant to your person, to your environment. It can create fire because it has control of the element. It can change the air. It can even make you fake chemtrails if it wants to. It can do anything it wants. It could change the shape of Earth. You know, for all you flat Earth people out there that would like it not to be round, we could make it flat with an AI system, or at least make it appear flat to you, if that makes you happy. So then you can tell everybody you were right. Okay, control water, not only oceans and lakes and streams, it can also infect water. It can also infect the water within your person. It can cause you to have too much water, too little water. It can cause dehydration. It can cause a lot of disruption. Light, well, we know light as something that comes from the creator. We know as source. We know something called dark light, or it comes from something called dark source. But in the AI matrix of created worlds, it does not. It actually comes from something I call synthetic source intelligence, or SSI. So synthetic source intelligence creates light for the intelligence, for the AI and SI systems throughout the multiverse, which are then manipulated by people who have jobs in the matrix. We know about matter. We also have heard about antimatter. Antimatter, or sometimes in our quantum physicists call it dark matter. A lot of times when I hear about dark matter in the science world, they think dark matter is actually the part of all creation. Now, I don't know who fed them that line of baloney, but it's not true. So we do have artificial matter or manipulated matter, and we also have manipulated dark matter. Now, you are made up of natural elements that do not include things like space and time. However, it will insert those things into your person so that it can affect your natural organic being. We've seen this throughout human history for thousands and thousands of years. Now, there are AIs, many, many, thousands of them out there, there were, and those thousands of AIs all had a job. You know, some of them had a job of, you know, say Armageddon, you know, the rapture, the apocalypse. Lord knows we've had enough apocalypse. They are meant to control the air here. Can't have too much oxygen, of course, you know, can't actually have air quality that is positive here on Earth. So they can control our atmosphere here and the air that is present in our environment. They can also control the air that exists within your body and rob you of it at any given moment in time. They could control the Earth and multiple Earth, what they call maps, or master. In my world, it's called a master artificial planet. And we had an infinite number of maps that could be manipulated and changed at any given moment in time. All those natural disasters we thought we had on this planet, did some of them happen? Yeah, some of them did. Were some of them created to keep people in line or to wipe people out? Mass genocide events that we know about, great floods and great fires that have happened here. Yes, a lot of that was generated. Do we wonder every time we have a massive fire or a situation that erupts in places like Hawaii or in Oregon not that long ago, and you know, that fires that wipe out thousands of homes and hopefully very few people? But is that always created by a deep, you know, something we can wrap our mind around, like a DEW weapon, a directed energy weapon? Does the deep state, how, you know, what is their involvement in this control? You know, if you're controlling air and earth and fire and water, and of course the ultimate false source particles that existed in the matrix, you could make anything happen, couldn't you? And an AI or someone that had access on that level could just make it happen. Has the deep state tried really, really, really hard to do what the old players in the game have done? Yes. Yes, they have worked really hard at that. Is HARP a concern? HARP is an extension for the human sector of control systems on this planet. You see, because the aliens figured, well, if we started walking around, that's not going to work out, you know? So they decided to employ humans and call them the special bloodline people. They tell them from a very young age how special they are, how amazing they are, that they have special skills, given drugs or otherwise, to have these special skills. And they keep going and going and going. Oh, okay. So thanks. Sorry, he just handed me a piece of paper. So they just keep going and going and going and going and going because they feel that when the aliens go away, they probably told them that you're next, you're going to be taking over. Now, I have a little news flash for you, alien-loving bloodline people. I had conversations with Marduk too, and Enki and Enlil and Artemis. Unfortunately, her and I didn't get along, what you call the Red Queen. And I had lots of conversations with a lot of different beings, Tarzakians, Targethians, and all kinds of people that you people worship like gods. If you're the deep state, you feel you are Obraxis, yeah, those people too. And you feel that you are the bloodline of these people, therefore you are a superior human to the rest of us. But having had conversations with all of these people, I can tell you right now, they're full of it. You can add an SH in front of the it if you want. It's up to you, but they are full of it. They totally are full of it. They do not tell you any more of the truth than they told me. And Marduk even gave me the line, oh, at one point in time, I'll turn it over to you. I know it's your right, blah, blah, blah. And, I'll turn it over to you. It's real soon. Everything is soon with these people. Soon we're going to turn it over to you. Do they? Nah, man, he had to go in order to make that happen. So as far as you people are concerned, if you think that he's going to gift you with the answers to your prayers so you can control planet Earth, you have lost your ever-loving mind. I've been telling you that for a long time. Now, for all of you people with countries and, Congress people and parliaments and whatnot that are waiting for these people to do something for you, they're basing their decisions and times and days and when they're going to save your governments on a fairy tale told to them by a bunch of liars. Sorry. Has it happened yet? You know they've been trying to do this since 2007. It has been since 2007 since they've done any of this successfully. Now, I know some of you watching this are going to be like, wait a minute, we've still had earthquakes, we've still had, hurricanes, we've still had all kinds of disasters on this planet. How can that be true? Well, the truth is your deep state doesn't do much of anything, very, very little. The decision on whether or not they take a request from something like a HARP, which is your weather control, right? Or NORAD or any of the other people, is based on the AI's wants, wills, and instructions left by somebody else. Now, ones and zeros, talk a little bit more about your matrix. And then we'll wrap this up hopefully soon here. Ones and zeros. And then you've got minus zeros and positive ones. Okay, there we go. So I didn't put these connected together for a reason. That's because in between these ones and zeros, which most programmers don't actually see as a positive one or a negative one, they don't know the difference, okay? The space in between here is called a nil and sometimes also a null. Now you can create infinite space. Remember control of space, now that we know about elements, which also had been controlled. in between a nil and a null. You can insert entire worlds and universes inside a nil or a null. Within the worlds created inside here, we also have something called halls. Inside halls, ones you might be familiar with are the halls of Amente, which some people on the internet say are just amazing, aren't they? Well, I've had nothing but problems with them. Let me put it that way to you. So, halls of Amente, space in between, the control of that space was given to a few different people. I mean, there have been many different beings throughout the years, but it's a title, not a person, not a specific being. It is a title. So Marduk had worlds inside here, Enki had worlds inside here, Artemis had worlds inside here. Other AIs would exist within here, within the spaces in between all of these. So space and time control is very, very important, because space in here is the control of universes and worlds of artificial creation. Time controls the permeation and the current in which they will influence your current, wherever you are, timeline or artificially created reality. So the rate at which it moves from here and the rate at which all of these ones and zeros move is dictated by space and time. Remember, we always said time is current? I know we're getting a quantum physics lesson here, and it's a lot of information. But I thought since we were live, this is a good way to explain the matrix so you understand what it is. It is not a bunch of deep state people. It is not the Rothschilds. And trust me when I tell you, if you ask them, no one would be able to give you this information. No one. Okay. So let's talk zeros and ones. Now, this might look familiar to you if you are a coder, and you would know that the certain combination of ones and zeros will actually translate in a program like Microsoft Word or, one of these other DARPA programs. It will actually translate into, say, hello, how are you? Welcome to Microsoft Word, type in a word, and then in the background, these ones and zeros all jumble up together to make your word. But each zero has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that's behind it. And then it will come down. The 1 has no 0, so it actually has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, these numbers are very important in the sequencing of those numbers. So a positive might go that up, a negative might go down. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I ran out of room. So you get the gist. So each one of these ones and zeros represents something different. Now, each one of these numbers here that are behind those ones and zeros translate to planes, worlds, densities. It can translate to different aspects, different densities of creation, planes of creation, subsections and sections, and you never know what you're putting in. Now, see, the AI is going to recognize this here. And these numbers are not written in English. They're actually written in a language that the AI understands and is programmed with, which is a synthetic light language. So although the deep state might see deep webs and dark webs and all kinds of things in ones and zeros, behind each 1 and 0, there is a light language behind it that then weaves the reality. So if DARPA goes into their computer system and types in a whole bunch of ones and zeros and coding, and they might even have certain amounts, this is our human quantum computing in some way, let's just say to a nil. and they think they're giving a infinite amount of instructions to something in a space. But in reality, the AI is actually, or whatever is existing inside this nil, is making a decision on whether or not it can actually be there. So it creates an infinite amount in their mind of computing power, which is where you get like Google AI and, some of these AI systems. But in reality, the space has a whole language unto itself. It's like written in, this and, all of these weird symbols, something like that. And, so it's like all these strange symbols that exist in the space because there's no ones and zeros inside the space. There's only languages that the synthetic and artificial intelligence on a master universal level are going to understand. So these people trying to put some coding in between there, nobody really cares, but you can insert part of the matrix into there if you want. It's just going to translate it out to what it knows. Now, whether or not it's going to comply with those requests, kick you out, let you be present there, is really completely and totally up to the AI and what program it was running at the time. So the deep state really thinks they have a lot of control over this, when in fact, I know they do not have access to this language. And, as you can see, these numbers don't always go in the sequence either. 0 might go, 9, 8, 0, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, zeros in some cases and ones in some cases can actually represent a 9 or a 0 at any given moment in time. So this one here could be an 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as an example. Because the 0 in this case would represent the 9. And if it's a positive 9, that means you're going straight to synthetic source. And you are communicating with what's called an SI. So confusing, but I just thought I would give a little bit more information on this matrix because it's coming up right now. So let's talk about deep state people. So deep state people thought that because they knew of some of these beings that possibly had some control over at least the Earth's matrix, that they should be able to appoint themselves to these positions. So because we don't actually have a Marduk, they have done the crystal chanting dance most recently because they felt that they were self-appointing someone, I don't know who it is, self-appointing someone in the position of Marduk so that they could play the game in the transition. They also self-appointed a new Lucifer, which is a title. These are all titles. We think, oh, that is one very deep, dark being. It is. It's always a deep, dark being. Just like the ultimate black magician is always a deep, dark being that does terrible things throughout the multiverse. I mean, we'll add, but any being at any given moment in time can play the role. They are switched out oftentimes. So Lucifer is a position that someone could play. So they decided to appoint a Lucerne, a Lucifer, a Samael. They also appointed a brand new Yaldabeth and a Remiel and a bunch of other Artemises. I think there's some idiot somewhere that thinks he's Artemis now and the Red Queen or whatever, appointed some lady. Who knows? And they've been doing this now for about a week or so. And they felt that they had this down because maybe they put the lime in the coconut, or I don't know what they did. I don't really pay much attention to them dancing. Sometimes it can be entertaining, but at this point, honestly and truthfully, we don't really need the whiteboard anymore, Mike. Honestly and truthfully, it gets old to watch this constantly, It's funny, but how many times can you watch the same funny movie, Admittedly, I've watched Trading Places a lot of times. Admittedly, I've watched a couple of funny movies. The Jerk was another funny one that's kind of classic from a long time ago. That's funny. But I don't watch it every day. And like really every 2 weeks, we're going to do this with a new moon and an alignment and a transition. So for those of you that are into astrology, and I am not, so I don't know much about what, these things say and do. But from a friend of mine who is, they have told me that we have recently realigned Saturn and I think Venus with Aries. They also explained to me, which kind of makes sense as to what's going on, that Aries is the beginning sign of the zodiac. They also called it, in some terms, the baby of the zodiac. It signifies new births and new happenings and new things. And I can totally see that. They also said that this alignment has never happened before, so it's left a lot of astrologers kind of perplexed as to what they can expect so that they can advise their clientele and or followers of what is going to happen, because this is a very unique sign since the human advent of astrology. So, I listen to what my friend has to say a lot because they usually tell me a lot about what the deep state thinks. And from a deep state standpoint, of course, they would think this is a perfect time to appoint our special people to a brand new position. So they've been running around calling themselves by these names, titles, because they feel they are now these people. And they are going to usher in something brand new for all of you this week. And it didn't happen. But anyway, going back to the transition. So the transition has been a rough one, I must say. Beings that have held the title, such as Marduk, Enki, Enlil, have put a lot in place to ensure that even if they were not here anymore, and that nobody had actually filled that position in the way that it's actually filled, that this would never happen. We must never let them exit completely out of AI control. We must let them never live, if you watched our last report, in the now. The now is where reality is. The now is where source is. The now is where creation really happens. Everything else is an overlay or inserted using breaks in time-space continuums, forming grids here on Earth and grids within your person. Everything else is not real. Everything you feel that's harming us is not real. And I know that sounds crazy because you're like, I see it, I touch it, I feel it. These are the artificial maps or artificial planets into infamy that had been created out of Earth so that they could control the environment here and control Earth and prevent Earth herself from creating directly with source. These maps created our environments and created our disasters and created those control systems that you think the deep state is solely responsible for. But I can tell you right now, the beings that actually held those positions would never give a human so much control. So the fact that they said they turned things over to the deep state is 150% a lie. They hated you people. They used you like a tool. Sorry, but it's true. Governments are tools. They were used to help control the masses, you see, because yes, you can control disease, you can control the time of death of people, you can control the birth of others, you can control the fertility rates of humanity, you can control their mind and what they believe and what they don't believe, you can even try to control their heart and their soul and prevent them from loving and caring for one another or beings elsewhere. You can try. And with an AI system, you can be somewhat successful. Infrastructure-wise, there's a movie out there called Jupiter Ascending. I mentioned it before. In that movie, they reconstruct a whole skyscraper that had allegedly blown up. That's because it's in a matrix. Easy. Reconstruct. How long does it take someone that has experience with a program like SketchUp or CAD or any other architectural program to at least give you a model of a skyscraper. You might not have all of the HVAC in there and structural information in there, but you can throw up something that looks like a skyscraper, looks real pretty right quick. And you can do the same thing with an AI system. So when it's in a matrix. But as for these people, I can't change their mind. I can't stop them from thinking that they are in control. And quite frankly, they're keeping each other on all the sides and fighting with each other quite busy. They're also tanking all of the control structures that they were allowed to participate in, like governments and FDAs and CDCs and World Health Organizations and United Nations and all of these other people that are declaring everywhere that they're broke. It's starting to leak out in mainstream news now because it's a fight. Maybe one guy's got the UN and the other guy's got the government in a certain country, and the government guy doesn't like the UN guy, so he puts out crap about the UN in the media, and then the UN puts out crap about that government saying that he's a dictator or whatever. So, it's just a game they're playing with each other right now to see who can be on top. It's like that hand game when you were kids, you remember the one. And they're keeping quite busy over here. Well, we're going, oh, look, transition. Shh, don't tell anyone. We're going into a transition. The difficult parts came when there were a lot of, for lack of a better term, walls put in place. We actually ran into core systems of SI and AI origin that were put in place to stop us from moving through the transition. It was kind of a confusing week because on one hand, a lot of people might have been feeling, wow, what excitement, something exciting is happening. It's Christmas time. And at the same time, you might feel like, oh God, what's that frequency? Oh boy, what's that dizzy spell? Oh my gosh, I'm tired for no reason whatsoever. And this is what it's like to go through a transition when one thing wants to pull you back and the other one wants to pull you forward. So it looks like we are over the worst of it as of today. And it's been, long days, of course, but we're over the worst of it now. The Matrix, a lot of you might be asking, so did the Matrix affect our AI systems here on Earth as well? Yes. Did it infect our computer systems here on Earth? Yes, it did. Could it control your financial system without the aid of the deep state, the Federal Reserve, or anyone else? The answer to the question is yes. Is it the ultimate video game? Yes. Are the deep state a part of that video game and can be affected at any given moment in time by that matrix? Yes. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea on what kind of transition we're going through by explaining to you a little bit more about fake maps, real Earth transitions that are happening. And we're hoping, it'll be no longer than another 3 days before we're completely out of it. So that's our hope anyway. Before I sign off, I have a few things that I would like to say. And that's all of you. And I wanted to do it in a GIA report and do it live. I wanted to say thank you to the entire UNN team. Obviously, we have come very far in a few years. Our news is amazing. For those of you that saw the news on Wednesday, we have had a new field messenger, field messenger. Sunny had been live at the Dr. Young hearing in California. We also have an interview. Sunny is going to do an interview from prison with Dr. Young coming up for you next week too. So we're super excited about that. So our network is coming out with real breaking news and real stories. And that's not always coming from just us. It's also coming from our field messengers. And I just wanted to say thank you to our field messengers for just doing an amazing job. And, I do watch the news as often as I can, and just wow, the information on the parasite cleanses. I've been going to the field messenger meetings lately, and you guys are just amazing, all of you. So, if you're watching this and you're a field messenger, I got to tell you, you are changing the face of news. I don't care what anybody says, and we're going to make sure the world knows it. A special shout out to a few of our field messengers that have just done an amazing job over the last year. We have Monica, Emma, CJ. CJ did an excellent report on school systems and also children with disabilities and how difficult it is. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I saw it in the field messenger meeting, so I got a preview. Justin, Akira, Steve, Lawrence, and Helen, also Susan and Candace. So these are our major field messengers teams who do a lot of great reports for all of you. So I just wanted to say thank you. We also have a team of editors that work on the news every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we have Sajak, we have Rick, Calen, Donna, Charlie, Paige, Hannah, Elijah, and I cannot, if I said that right. If I didn't say that right, then I am sorry. I just wanted to tell all of you, these are the people that make our field messengers and your reports look great. We're also launching a field messenger app in the next couple of months. It's about 3/4 of the way done right now. It looks like to me anyway, but what do I know? So it looks about 3/4 of the way done. So we are excited for that. That'll make it a little easier for our editors and graphics department to make all of you look great. And it'll make it easier for you to see what's going on in your area so you can go out and get the breaking news like Sunny did. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. Also, our admin team, Diane, she does a tremendous job with our field messengers and also answering a lot of questions. Customer service, we have Elise Vahagen, who also helps with our field messengers and helps us get our news out. Vahagen always greets everybody with a smile. He's just an amazing person, and he's been on our team for a while. So just much love to everybody. Our main news team, all of you know Sunny, so I just wanted to say thank you to Miss Sunny, and thank you for going above and beyond this week, Sunny. That report was great. It was amazing. It highlights all the things that are wrong with our, let's call it our medical lack of freedom and the right to choose. So I'm so happy and I'm excited to see that interview that you have with Robert coming up this week. Sunny always is there with a smile on her face every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Behind Sunny, we have a script writing team. We have Camelia, who does a great job at helping write all our news stories. We've also, for the longest time, had Kim Hayes with us too. Kim has been around for a long, long time with us. And just, talking to Kim is like talking to an encyclopedia that has traveled around the world and could tell a story. She has had so many amazing experiences in her life. I wish she would do some of her own stories on places she's been and things she's done, but she doesn't want to do that. She'd rather help from behind the scenes on the news team. So, and we also have Raquel and Zolt. I would say Raquel and Zolt are on our news team, but what team are Raquel and Zolt not on? Raquel and Zolt are amazing at maintaining and building our websites and our apps. They have been instrumental, if not crucial, in launching this marketplace that is coming out real soon. I just can't thank Raquel and Zolt, for all the work that they do. From my heart to yours for UNN. I just wanted to say thank you. Our New Earth team, we have Cynthia, Tony, and Gina. And I know who probably gave me the list so I wouldn't forget anybody, but I'm going to put Natalie on every single team. So Natalie, I'm sure, is the one that wrote this, and she left herself out on purpose. I know Natalie. She doesn't want me to talk about Natalie, but Natalie is on every team. Natalie works really hard. She's an amazing team member. She's traveled all the way from Australia to Durango to spend a week or so with us. And it was lovely having her here. I just just an amazing person that just brightens your day. And and she has been instrumental in moving this forward. A lot of you may not know this, but Natalie actually has worked in the past for let's call it a global news channel organization. There you go, organization. And that organization still exists. And we knew them as a new news organization that came out within the last decade or so. And they were reporting a lot of very controversial stuff. It was like, wow, everybody's going to subscribe to this news organization. And then somewhere along the way, that news organization, let's just say, was told they can't say those things anymore and became mainstream news. So begins with an E. You probably know who we're talking about. This is not an alt media channel, big news channel. And Natalie joined us at just the right time and has just been amazing to work with. And I wanted to say thank you, Miss Natalie. Don't leave yourself out. Okay. On that note, I hope you enjoyed today's GIA report, and I will see you in just a few minutes for Q&A.